why we can't afford our staple diet. Welcome to Mark and Pete. The sort of food that's sustained ordinary families for generations is getting out of reach due to price. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Food inflation. Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean, so both bellies then went flat, because neither had a bean. Yes, indeed. Well, it is rather unfortunate that supermarkets' staple diets are increasing dramatically. Yes, the cost of things such as milk, breads, and eggs are going up exponentially. They're quite remarkable in terms of the inflation that we're seeing. Mr. Pete, I ask you, many people are cutting back on these staple diets. This is not only a concern for most people's families throughout the country, but it's also affecting our children. People are cutting back unnecessary. What say you about this problem?
Yeah, well, there's two issues there. One is sort of knowing what to buy and how to feed a family on a small budget, um, but decades and decades of just brilliant low price supermarkets um, that have allowed us to have access to great food, and due to their just amazing logistics expertise, able to bring things around the world, and it's at low cost. But that's changing because of all the difficulties in the world to do with transport. But also that there's other factors, of course, that have just harmed the economy, including those of food producers, such that prices have gone up. And yeah, it's difficult then to even afford the basics, and even podcasters on the superstar wages that we have are finding it sometimes difficult to buy just the basic food because of the cost. I mean, certainly I now consider the price of basic things like a loaf of bread, where I might not have even thought about it. I'll just have that one because I like it. Now I've driven to actually thinking about it. Now, you may think that's a good thing, that you're actually considering how you spend your money. And there's some truth in that. But when it comes to people who may not have the huge income that you and I have, Mark, then it gets to be very serious. Can you actually feed your family with the nutritional food that they need?
Well, indeed. I just thought to point out the podcast salary as a chicken feed, and we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that yes. Now I'm going to come into the actual price inflations in a minute. I'm going to put you to the test to see what you think in
Oh,
terms of what's happened over the last 4 years. But one of the reasons that certain goods have gone up, according to retailers such as Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, Morrison's, etc., they have said that there have been some major hits. Clearly, we know that supply chain and goods coming from abroad that are imported into the UK is one of the challenges, because cost of transport has gone up. The other one, and we cannot forget this, but during that 4 year period, we've had everything from bird flu. We've had COVID. We've had
mhm.
many other things like that. Also, the one that I'd like to add to Ed Miliband, which is our energy costs have gone up dramatically, meaning that, ironically, farmers have had to obviously spend more on energy, whether it be to produce goods, whether it be chicken products, and many other different things. Or, of course, for our bakers, clearly you need heat, remarkably, to make bread. And of course, this is impacting everything that goes on the shelf. So, Mr. Pete, the price of
Mhm.
eggs has risen
Yes.
substantially in recent years. Now, the average price of eggs, milk, and bread. Now, there's one little clue. One of them has remained reasonably flat. So, of the eggs, milk, and bread, I'll come on to the pricing in a minute, but which of the three has remained relatively flat in cost between 2022 and 2026? Just have a quick guess. You've got 1 in 3
Eggs,
chance.
eggs, milk, and bread.
Yes.
Well, I would say of them, I think the loaf of bread is the most. It would be the most likely to be flat. Certainly, I've
Well, yeah.
noticed the others increase.
That is very good. And we're going to start. That is correct. So, ironically, where it was before was around 62, 63, 64 pence in 2022 for bread.
This is for a loaf of
Whereas
bread.
loaf of bread, and now it's
Yeah.
74. So it's like for like. And
Yes.
I know that people will say, yes, but which type of bread, etc. There's loads of
Yeah.
bread and
Yeah.
bread. But let's
But
say
this
if
is
we
an
did like for
average.
like,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
average. Now we come on to eggs. So first of all, how much were, say, a box of eggs, 6 eggs, say, for example?
No, they vary quite a lot. In that I
Six free
recent
range eggs. Let's go with
I
free
oh
range
I
eggs.
bought 6 eggs for £1 recently, but that's pretty cheap. I would say they'd be about
Cheap.
150 now. Cheap, yes.
Yes.
I'm going to say 90p in 2022.
Well, ironically, in 2022, it was a pound.
Oh right, okay,
And where we are now, you were getting there. You said £1.50. It's now £1.80 on average.
okay, yeah,
Now, when
yeah,
you look at milk, it has actually gone up, down, and back up again. So,
right.
just go to the milk. It was around £1.25,
Was
and this was again for
is
say
that for 4 pints?
a 4 pint semi-skim milk.
Yes,
That's like
right.
the benchmark. But today it's £1.65. So what you can see is when you
Yes,
say it in pence, it doesn't sound very much. But for an average family that has to keep buying these on a regular
yes,
basis, it hits your pocket
and
and
particularly
definitely your plate.
children like milk. Usually, most
Oh
children
yes,
like milk, and
crucial.
it's good for them. So, if you're seeing that increase, but if you have several children, milk just they keep drinking it. It's so expensive. So in my household, yeah, you're always having to buy milk. So it's not like, oh, it's 4 pints a week. It's 4 pints every other day, maybe. So,
Well,
that's
what's
suddenly
also
increased. That's a
happening,
lot of money over the month for your salary. That's a lot of money, and it's a
it is a lot
lot
of
of
money.
an increase. Yeah.
It's also affecting, ironically, because some people think, well, surely the retailers themselves are making exorbitant amount of profit from this. Actually, ironically, no. What's actually happening is there have been peaks and troughs, but if we benchmark 2022 to 2026, a lot of the profit has decreased. And that's through all of even the budget brands like Aldi and Lidl. They've been hit very hard. So, we're all feeling the pinch here. So I think that what I would say here is it comes back to one thing, which is a campaign that we've seen go in peaks and troughs over the years, which is buy British. And many retailers are saying, look, when you're going to the shelves, maybe that's what will try and drive costs down and also boost some of the farmers that are out there
Yes.
in the United Kingdom. Because let's be honest, the farmers have had a pretty bad few decades. We're not going to go necessarily into the government tax policies, etc. But in terms of profitability, the farmers have struggled. So if we
Mm.
were to buy British, the chances are there'll be more of a market for them if we didn't
Yes.
rely on foreign
I think
goods.
I think yeah, the problems that we've had recently, particularly with transport across the world, because of unsettled political differences between countries in the world. So you're suddenly having more expensive travel. Now, I think just to be political, just for a moment, the Brexit, leaving Europe, had a temporary effect in increasing costs of transport because of the having to get used to the logistics and the delays. But um, I don't think just looking at the increases that can be ascribed to to one change. It's an ongoing situation, and so what we can imagine now. Well, what if there were actually a real big war, a war that involved our country? We're talking about Britain here. Then we'd be in a difficult situation unless we were more reliant on British food rather produced in Britain rather than food that comes in from abroad. It just makes sense to future proof yourself, to have the country basically being able to be self-reliant. Not that you don't bring in food from abroad, but that it's possible to do so. And I think that the government, should be encouraging that to happen. Maybe with tax breaks, they should really consider that for farmers. I mean, the farmers have been really hard done by.
Yes, well, they have. Now, here's another thing, which is a slightly more biased view. It's my personal view, but what I've noticed is that some of the British products actually taste better. I'll give you an example. Anything that has a milk base, egg base type of product is richer, is creamier. So if you think of the lush land that we have available to us, if I were to take certain European countries, they don't have the same arable availability. It's a different type of product. It tends to be drier, whereas it tends to be a much more creamier offering with things that like cheeses and milks, etc. Now, maybe that's my personal view, but yes, I've watched this over the years and I've traveled to many different countries. I can definitely say I
Yeah.
can tell you taste the difference. So maybe there's an opportunity there, Mr. P. Now, I don't know whether you've got specific brands that you would be sorry to see coming out of your shopping basket, but do you prefer British products as a taste test versus foreign products? What say
Uh,
you about that?
as to a taste test, I think it's simply this. It's not the taste. It's well, it is the taste, but it's simply because you get the food product getting to you uh, sooner. So you're having to have less preservatives put in to keep it fresh for you. I'm thinking of fruit and, of course, some meat that it's getting to you without being stored, without being frozen. It can get straight to you without those things, which do change the taste. Um,
Yes,
the changing temperature can denature some of the protein within the food, and it changes the taste. So, yeah, always buy local where possible. And Mark and Pete over the years has had as their mantra, well, a
yes,
couple of things, but one of them is localism. Localism, buy local, not just buy English, buy local, and you do get better food because of that. Because you can have the food on your plate a lot quicker and without
yes.
the storage problems that reduce the quality.
Well, sort of in conclusion, now I'm going to quote here Andrew Opie, who's the Director of Food and Sustainability at the British Retail Consortium. Now, that represents supermarkets across the UK. Um, and one of the things that he has mentioned that one of the most affordable places in Western Europe for grocery shopping, ironically, is the UK, because obviously European countries are also going through the same challenges. Now, he said, as food inflation has risen in recent years, supermarkets have ramped up their focus on offering value on everyday staples, in some cases, selling products below cost and absorbing the impact through their own margins to deliver savings for customers. So, in conclusion, folks, when you pick up your shopping basket, buy British.
Amen.